Every single time I think I've got this video done, a new story keeps dropping. Today, my friends, we have some incredible developments surrounding Maignan, Ekitike, bynoe-gittens, plus some shock exits as well. A lot is going down. Make sure you guys stay tuned on BlueLionsTV for all the latest reports. And very quickly, my friends, two quick things. Use my affiliate links below to secure your 25-26 home kit range, nearly 10 at checkout, 10% off your final order, and catch my big breakdown on who I'm buying, keeping and selling out of the 50 players that Chelsea own. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get straight into things. Wasting no time with the first story today, an absolute bomber from Fabrizio Romano. And at the moment, we have approached AC Milan to sign Maignan as our new goalkeeper. This must explain why we have reservations around who the main number one is said to be next season. This must explain why we could cash in on George Petrovic. This explains why Robert Sanchez is keeping the door open away from the football club if he is not guaranteed the number one status. A lot of stuff is making sense at this point in time, and it seems like we are looking to do a madness by taking advantage of delays between Maignan and AC Milan over these contract renewals. Now, Magnan's contract expires next year, 2026. This is the prime time to sign him. And at the moment, Milan's latest contract offer of around 4.5 million euros a season has been turned down by Maignan. Him and his team want to earn between 5.5 to 6 mil euros a year. Now for Milan, that's a lot of money. But for us, on the other hand, that's not much of an issue to sign one of the best goalkeepers in the world, a goalkeeper that's won titles at Lille and at AC Milan. The French number one goalkeeper, superb distribution out from the back, leadership, top saves. This is an upgrade signing. This is a move you make. I'm happy for this. I respect Petrovic, I respect most of these guys, yeah? I think Sanchez hasn't been as bad, but when opportunities like this emerge in the market, you take it with both hands. And at the moment, it seems like we are looking to try and engineer something by taking advantage of these delays between Maignan and AC Milan. Now, the new manager in Allegri, Italian clubs are so funny, bro. Like, even Maurizio Sarri is set to go back to Lazio. It's such a funny league. It doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, he wants this guy to renew. He's a key player for him. But we know that Milan, now they've missed out on Champions League football, this was always going to hurt them in their pockets, right? Reports suggest that they could be open to Theo Hernandez leaving as they accepted a 35 million offer from a Saudi club. Who knows if Hernandez decides to go there just yet? You guys, would you even consider taking him if he's available? Bro, that completely threw me off then. It's so annoying. But listen, I'm going to discuss this in more detail as we get more reports emerging around this story, but this is the breaking reports currently surrounding Maignan. How do you feel about this? Do you think we can get something done here? I think we can definitely outbid Milan in terms of wages, and I think we can take advantage of the fact that they've missed out on European football, and we have Champions League football. We're a team on the rise right now. And Milan are in a very scary situation where they can't ask for too much money and we can completely blow them away financially too. So let's watch this space and let's see what happens. It seems like there's an incredible chance that Gittens is the left winger, number one option we are going to sign in this summer window. We learned today from The Athletic that our pursuits for Rodrigo now have kind of ended, and I guess this confirms Spanish reports suggesting that Xabi Alonso wants to keep Rodrigo in his squad for next season. Is out the door right now. So we're turning all our attentions now to bynoe-gittens. We're hoping to get this deal secured before the start of the Club World Cup, but we have to respect the fact that there is still interest from Arsenal and also Bayern Munich. A Bayern Munich that are feeling kind of hurt after losing out on Florian Wirtz, a player they put in so much time and effort to try and, get tied down and seal in this summer window. So we have to watch out. But in the meantime, we're learning that Gittens has a preference now to come back to England and isn't as inclined maybe to sign for Bayern Munich. Now, you don't have to take a wild guess to figure out exactly why bynoe-gittens is being promoted here, because naturally, this is another Joe Shields target. And I keep joking around saying that we're seeing the Man City-fication at Chelsea Football Club. Delap coming through, Lavia, Palmer. That is like the core Man City PL2 spine that we're seeing with us. Bynoe-gittens, another player. Sancho's, Tosins. It's kind of crazy that we're doing that, but we're going to see if, you know, this gamble, or maybe gamble's the wrong word, this strategy to pursue these premium talents is going to be the difference that actually elevates us over a Man City. Time will tell. But to give you guys some backstory, there is some personal history between Joe Shields and bynoe-gittens, as Joe Shields was originally the guy to bring bynoe-gittens to the Man City Academy. He was spotted playing in a Prem tournament at 13 years old, and in a very similar deal that originally took Jadon Sancho as a young kid to Man City, Shields saw a talent in Gittens that he thought was so remarkable, was just so different, that's like another level, that he had to get that deal secured and tied down. So he's had very good relations with Gittens' agent, and Gittens and Sancho actually share the same agency. I did discuss this earlier on. So you're seeing a lot of like the symbiotic relationships happening behind the scenes, and also how these relationships can kind of be the driving factor and force behind how certain clubs get an advantage over other clubs when it comes to signing particular players. So that seems to be working in our favor. Now, as I've said, listen, you guys, Gittens, I've not said he's a bad player, but what I've been trying to distinguish this entire time is that I was hoping we could sign like a different class for two positions, up front and the left wing. I understand that we want to get some of the reinforcement done before the start of the Club World Cup. It's not even because of the tournament entirely, but it's also due to the fact that pre-season is going to be a myth this year. So ideally, you need these guys to come in early, training together early, because yeah, it's going to get completely disrupted before the start of the new Prem season. So that's like the strategy behind that. But, you know, I kind of wish there was like a little bit of patience. You know, I'd love if we're getting linked with Barcola. You know, Barcola, fantastic player, but you can see why he's not getting in that starting 11 at Paris Saint-Germain consistently, right? Could we not do something to try and tempt him? Like, he could probably be a star for us, even though he still needs a bit more work done in his game. I just feel like there's certain options that would be really interesting. But on the other hand, that's me separating my personal feelings from the club's decision. You can see why the club are actively pursuing him, because they've been pursuing him for like, what, 12 months, for a long time. And there's been many stories I've discussed where the club have targeted these guys for like over a year, 18 months. A lot of us don't see it, we can't understand it. They eventually get it, or we see these guys go elsewhere and they start to cook, and then we're like, oh, maybe we should have like kept an open mind and had like a more positive perspective on these stories, right? And this could be the same thing for Gittens, because I will say this, tactically there will be it's like night and day between us and Dortmund. You know, under Kovac, using the wing-back systems, using more inside forwards to have to tuck inside, Gittens isn't there just yet at his young age to be able to play to that level. But playing for us, where, you know, you're an outlet winger, you got space to go 1v1 at times, take your man on, etc, etc. He could find more confidence in this game playing that way. And as I keep saying, I think you go for a Gittens because you respect the fact that you splash incredible money on that 17-year-old kid from Sporting Lisbon in Kenda, and they're going to be your main two wingers for the next 5 years minimum, right? This is why you're making a move for a bynoe-gittens. So let's see how things go, my guys. Let's see how things pan out. Very quickly, my friends, but right now on TikTok, I'm trying to get to 10,000 followers. I've been really happy with the impressions I'm making on TikTok. If you guys want to support and show love, use my link above, description below. Follow me on TikTok. Help me get to 10,000 followers in June. We have some very interesting and big developments updates surrounding our pursuit for Hugo Ekitike, the guy I'm crossing my fingers we get done and get secured. The stars are aligning slightly in our favor, but it's not time to get too excited or too gassed just yet. I'm going to tell you guys the negative news now, and that is we still haven't reached an agreement with Frankfurt, who are still holding out for this 100 million euros. Hopefully something can be negotiated under that fee. I've given you guys my example, the prime one being Kolo Muani last summer, where they were adamant that he would only go for like 105 million euros. In the end, he was sold for 90, and that was 75 upfront, 15 in add-ons. So hopefully we can find like a similar deal, because Frankfurt are a selling club. They can reinvest those funds, and hopefully if it's closer to that fee or structured in a better way, something can happen. But equally at the same time, you know, the reality also is the club just won't overspend for anyone. They really love Ekitike, and we've learned that he's got 3 ticks. He's got ticks from the data team, you know, that team that we invested so much money in, who's not really having much of a say when it comes to executive decision making on signings. Maresca, importantly, and obviously the directors. So when you're getting 3 ticks, and this was a similar fashion to like your Enzos and your Caicedos, I think you should have some confidence that your money is going to be worth it. But equally at the same time, it is a lot of money that they're asking for. But I don't know, man. I guess to give my opinion very quickly, if you're not getting Seshkos, if you're not getting Ekitikes, even Osman, who, listen, I rate him, but if we didn't get him, I'm not losing sleep over him, to be honest with you. That pool of striker is getting smaller and smaller. So does that just tell us that we'll just keep Nico and Delap? Time will tell. But let's discuss some of the positive developments. We've learned that Ekitike has been omitted now from the French under-21 squad for the under-21 Euros competition coming up soon. That'll be a really big tournament. A lot of big promising talents participating. Excited to see that. The reason behind that is because he has arrived with back pain, which he has felt since the end of last season. So this is convenient, because obviously if we somehow strike a deal, because our hopes are to still bag this deal before the start of the Club World Cup, naturally he can participate and he can play. Ekitike's terms are no issue, they're no problem. He's not earning that much at Frankfurt already. They've been agreed upon. Ekitike wants to move, he wants to sign for us, he wants to make it happen, and I'm hoping that if push comes to shove, he might play a little bit dirty. I know that fans always feel the type of way when players kind of want to, you know, show agency in their futures, but I mean, it's worked in our favour a million times before, and the game's the game, yeah, it's ruthless in the transfer market, yeah, accept it. I'm not going to be losing sleep over that, and hopefully if it means he has to get dirty, I'm hoping he can do that to try and force a move to us. But regardless, some slight interesting developments around ways we could engineer a move, and it does involve talented Strasbourg winger in Bakwa. Now Frankfurt have shown a lot of interest in Bakwa for a while. You can play both flanks, direct, amazing shot creating actions. They have a Champions League they have to prepare for, and of course Bakwa would really improve that team. Now Strasbourg value him at around 30 mil euros, so obviously because Strasbourg fall under Blueco, could there be possible ways to engineer a move where Frankfurt can sign Bakwa for a pretty decent fee, and they allow, of course, Ekitike to come our way? Nothing is like very clear on this right now, but it's a development to keep an eye out for and wait to see what happens. But in the meantime, we've learned that we were going to hold talks again. Those talks have already happened now for Ekitike. We have made the official inquiries now to Frankfurt. This tells us that we've got enough positive signs now from the player and for other structures behind this deal that we feel like, okay, something can happen here. But it really comes down to Frankfurt now being a bit flexible. For myself, listen man, there's not going to be many strikers like Ekitike, and for everyone who has some reservations, I might sound a bit mad, but you'd have reservations around Isak if he was available in the market, because these guys are very similar profile wise and gameplay wise, yeah? So don't forget that detail. Now we discuss the latest updates on exits, and the first breaking story is we say goodbye to Jadon Sancho, as Sancho now is set to leave us on the 30th of June. This means that he won't be taking part in the Club World Cup, which also explains why we are in the market right now to make sure we can get Gittens secured before the start of the tournament. And essentially, I don't know what reports will say. You know, there was inclination that Sancho would reduce some of his wage packet. Was maybe the reduction a bit too much for Sancho? Who knows? But from what I was hearing, and I'm saying this because I heard about Sancho's exit this morning before the report actually came out, this seems to be more about us wanting to pursue Gittens over keeping Sancho. So that's really the main reason as to why we aren't looking to keep him once his loan spell is over. So we are going to pay that 5 mil pen compensation fee. Bit of a shame. I think Sancho was well liked. I think he has been a decent squad player. I don't think he's been bad for us. Obviously, you can see his limitations. Not really his fault though. I keep stressing that Sancho, he needs that freedom to roam. He needs to come inside. He needs to have someone overlapping to allow him to do that, because he can create, but he also has that goal threat. And the times where he was allowed to come inside at times, you can see what he can do, right? But how often last season would you just see Sancho getting 2v1s and there's a reluctance from Maresca allowing Cucurella to overlap in behind or something? So I'm making that point to explain his numbers, because players are only judged by their numbers, sadly, these days. But I think in terms of how he performed for us, I think he was pretty decent, to be fair with you. A part of me thinks he would cook at Man United, especially now that Amorim's here, and especially now they have Dorgu and other players like that. You know, it's crazy that Anthony and Sancho, the 2 big money buys, haven't worked out, but they never use them in the right manner or the right way. I think if I was United, I'm probably giving Sancho another chance, but it does seem like his future should be abroad at this point in time, and maybe Dortmund might be coming through to make something happen here. And I think maybe the timing of this, you know, I did discuss a report before which suggested that maybe we could do something which allows Sancho maybe to find himself back in Dortmund, which might soften the blow to allow us to actually sign Gittens. So let's watch this space, because we know that Sancho and his team already held talks with Dortmund a few months back, and it seems that the door is open there a little bit. So we wait to see what happens. Reports surrounding Noni Madueke, and it seems like we could be open to a sell if the offer is top, if the money is right. There's been historic interest from your Newcastles. We know about this. United, they're targeting Embremo right now, but if they flop that deal, could they go for Noni? I don't know, because I think to myself, if Brentford are asking for 60M for Embremo, we're not going to sell Noni for less than that. I think kind of same parity, right? At least 50 to 60 mil for a Noni. But I'd be very surprised if that was the case, especially now that Sancho is set to leave us, and now that we need wingers in the Club World Cup. You know, that means we have potentially Gittens, Madueke, Neto. Obviously, Esteval doesn't come until after. You know, we're kind of light of options at the moment, Tyreek George. So it does really seem like Gittens will be the guy that we tie down next before the start of the Club World Cup. And I think we have some decent balance to do something there. So, yeah, I'd be very surprised if Noni does go. Then I think to myself equally, would the club make sacrificial sales if the money was great? And then if you think about it from that perspective for a second, how many players do we have in that category? Because you're not selling Caicedos or Enzos or no one's like that. You're probably looking at like, you know, Madueke, maybe Augusto, maybe a Nicholas Jackson, in the sense that you're happy to keep them, but if they receive stupid offers, you could probably survive without them, right? That could make some sense, but I don't know. I don't want to see Noni go. The report from The Guardian reveals that we've been disappointed by his development. I think that's very harsh. I think his numbers have been going up. I think he broke his landmark of getting over 10 goals in all competitions for the season, which I think is a positive direction that he's going upwards. I don't know if it's the reporter maybe like reporting things in the wrong way, or maybe we have very like high criteria, but even then, come on man, development is not linear. Like, so a lot of players kind of like go up after their first debut season, they kind of stall, but they don't go down, and they explode up and they turn like 23, 24, 25. So I think there's enough in Noni's game to know that he's good enough for this level. Do not want to see Noni leaving here at all. I think that would be a big mistake. And yeah, I think it's interesting that, but that's pretty much me from the stories today, my friends. So get involved in the comments, share your thoughts and opinions, and I will catch you guys later with some more videos. Love. Cool.